All right. The mini camp is over. Training camp is over. Preseason's over. We finally get to talk about real football, and we finally named a starter. So obviously the question is, did Kellen Moore make the right choice between last year's fifth round pick and this year's second round pick? Is it the 6'5" quarterback or the 6'1" quarterback? Is it the most pro ready prospect in this year's draft, according to people who probably watched highlight cutouts? Or is it the guy that went 0-6 last year? How you position things is going to determine how you view the narrative. Hindsight's the only thing that's really going to tell us which one was the right choice. Like, if Kellen chooses Spencer Rattler and Spencer Rattler is around 500 considering this roster, and he plays really well and he shows upside and might just be the guy. Kellen made the right choice. If he goes 1-6 in 7 starts, and then you start Shuck when you get to the softer part of the schedule, and Shuck wins 3 games, and you go four and whatever through the year, but Shuck won three and Rattler won one. Oh, he made the wrong choice. Hindsight's going to determine a lot of how people are going to view that. To me, I think Kellen Moore made the right choice, not just because I don't like Tyler Shuck. Everything I've seen from him as a guy, he seems like a really good dude. Um, Obviously he's on the Saints. I want the Saints to have success. So like I don't care who's out there. I want the best people to be out there to give them a chance to win because I want my team to win. But I do care about the process. I didn't like Tyler Shuck in the draft because he's skittish under pressure. I don't I think his footwork is highly ungood, especially when he's under pressure. Um and I think he's what I call he's a high variance quarterback. He's when he's on, he looks really good. You see the arm talent, you see the gifts, and when he's off, he's ass. Carr was that way. I just personally don't stylistically like high variance quarterbacks. I prefer more of the operator archetype. And Rattler is more of that, but he's also like he's got a bit of gunslinger in him, and that can be good and bad. Like Drew was an operator stylistically who mentally was a gunslinger. Nothing wrong with that. Favre was a high variance guy who was a gunslinger, but just so preposterously talented, it worked for him more often than not. Like you can have mixes and matches there between like archetype and style and how guys go. And it's really just all like different nomenclature and how we simplify things down into groupings to contextualize a player's skill set. I think that Rattler's archetype and his experience is the biggest reason why he's currently the starting quarterback for the team. He operates the offense more consistently and more reliably. And not only do pretty much all of the reports from training camp reflect that, I think the way, and like in the moment, I was worried that something else was going on, which I'll talk about in a second, just to acknowledge there was some bias. But now that we have the benefit of hindsight, I think I'm very confident to say I really like the way that Kellen Moore handled the 3 preseason games as far as the player eval. I think he very clearly called different offense for Shuck and Rattler. Rattler was much more often asked to just operate the offense, and he wasn't hyper aggressive for the record. Um, I think some of Kellen's comments have kind of made it clear. I think that was probably a request from the coaches of we know you think you can make every throw and we know you can make some plays, but we really need to see can you just take what's there and be consistent and not have negative plays and reliably execute, consistently and reliably execute whatever is there. And he couldn't do that last year. Now, Kubiak, the circumstances around it, like there were a bunch of things that further impacted his ability to do that. But the reality is that he was not able to do that. I think he's shown meaningful improvement throughout this offseason and through this preseason in some of the major areas that he struggled with. We know he's got a big arm. His arm is just as talented as Shucks is. 6'1" versus 6'5", like Hurts is 6'1". Do we hear about how he's a short quarterback? No. Like, if he was 5'10", like Russell Wilson or Drew Brees, it would make more of a difference. Not so. Like, yeah, sure, 6'5", like you have a little bit of a different viewpoint. You have, longer arms, longer lever, like some different release point things. Like, yeah, there's some differences there. Is it a huge gap? It's really not. And especially when you look at operating an NFL offense and again, starting NFL defenses that have a game. And that to me was the clear difference in the preseason. Rattler was asked to run the offense. Shuck really was only asked to run the offense that second preseason game against Jacksonville when he was in with the starters. Those first two series, he was more under center, and they were trying to run the offense. Now, Ruiz certainly didn't help him, but like that's part of being the starter is you have to be able to handle those things with poise. He did not do that. That intentional grounding play could have just as easily been a pick six. Um, and the same way you shouldn't grade Shuck on one play, like one what if, like you shouldn't grade Rattler on that. Throw in the third preseason game is Shaheed. If he leads Shaheed, again, whether he just misread his speed, they were off in timing, or he just missed the throw. Regardless of what the reason is, it doesn't matter. You missed the throw. He hits that throw, it's a completely different narrative. He secured it. He won it. Like, bam, he made this one play. No, it's 3.5 months of mini camp, training camp, preseason, practices, all of those things together told the coaches right now, this minute today, one guy is ready to go against NFL defenses and consistently and reliably execute the offense. And one guy needs to be in shotgun and hurry up and have things made easy for him to feel comfortable and confident to run the offense. And that's how they called it for Shuck. Now, here's the part of it that I like. Shuck has a ton of talent, hasn't played a ton of football. Like I know 7 years in college, hasn't played a ton of football. The proper way to develop that player is to put them in positions to succeed so that they build confidence. So that when you give them easy reads and reliable reads and consistent reads and quick reads so they can go out there and go boom, boom, boom and make plays and build a rhythm so that then they have the confidence where, okay, well, now you have all these one read or two read plays. Now we can take you to a three read progression or a four read progression, or we can have you with multiple checks at the line and different, like we can build up to really playing quarterback. And because you have the confidence from executing the easy stuff, you're more likely to execute the other stuff because you believe in yourself and never discount the mental aspect of the game and the mental aspect of player development. So I now believe the distinction. I thought for a point in time that the difference in play calling was because they were putting Rattler in a spot where, hey, you don't get all the starters with you, but you're with the starters, but we're going to have you run like the real offense, but with none of the starters out there. So you don't have anybody who can win on any routes. But then we're going to put Shuck in against the backups, but we're also going to put him in shotgun and hurry up and give him all this cute shit to make him look good so we can justify what Mickey wants, which is to start Shuck because they drafted Shuck. That's not what happened. I genuinely don't think that happened at this point. I did at the time, but that was with one preseason game and then two preseason games. Now that we have three and we see the decision, I think there was a different process. I think it was more about Rattler is processing better, and we know Rattler's aggressive, and we know from like the reports in training camp throughout, like he was making the more of the throws downfield and being aggressive and making the plays. And I think he was challenged. Go show us you can really truly run the offense, not just make a great throw down the field because you got good arm talent and we have fast guys, but like really show me you can process and run an offense. And they went to Shuck and went, we know he can't do that yet, but we know he's got a ton of talent. Let's build his confidence and let's progress his development. And when we get to the end of the process, it'll either be Rattler's processing and operation has been consistent and reliable, so we're going to start with him, or Shuck is elevated to where we trust his operation and processing enough that we're willing to put him out there early. Shuck didn't progress enough to override that initial advantage Rattler had because, again, operation is super important. Reliability is super important. I think it just comes down to that simple. I also think, this is just personal opinion, I think it's a disservice to Spencer Rattler that so many people are discounting like the story there. So you have a guy who was a top recruit, has that stupid Netflix thing that ruins people's opinion of him, loses his starting job at Oklahoma because Caleb comes in there and Caleb is a generational prospect. Goes to South Carolina, plays really well there, fixes a lot of his mechanics, like evolves as a player, works his ass off, gets taken in the fifth round in a pretty deep draft. Like in a different draft, he probably gets taken a lot higher. Um, gets a few starts on a really bad team that had just fired their coach with a toxic quarterback room and literally no weapons and no offensive line, and shows some flashes, but is also inconsistent because he's A, a rookie, and B, in horrible circumstances. And like he has his own weaknesses on top of that, but that compounds everything. That guy, instead of making excuses and woe is me and look at how bad the circumstances were and I got screwed and Carr didn't even want me to get any snaps, so I couldn't develop, and he didn't do any of that. He immediately got to work, immediately tried to get better, comes in, wins the job. He wasn't handed the job, wins the job. And his first start of his second year, and the first time where he's declared the starting quarterback rather than being like the default guy because of Carr's injury, is against his hometown team of the Arizona Cardinals. That's a cool story. We should acknowledge that. Now, we can also acknowledge it's all on him. Play well, again, especially within context. Like it's not just wins and losses, although you do need to win some games. But like we all know, it's not a great team. He's not going to go 13-3, 14-3, whatever. But you need to play a lot better than last year, and you need to be like, hey, if we lose a game, it can't be because the quarterback just didn't do enough. Losing 31-34, 31-45 because the defense just got gashed or whatever is very different than winning than like losing 31-14. Like those are very different results. That's on him. That's not in his control. But like it's a cool story. I'm happy for him. We should all be happy for him. It's a dope comeback story. We like comeback stories. And if he doesn't, like if it doesn't work out, well now Tyler Shuck gets a chance. And he's also kind of a comeback story. And if neither of these guys work out, you're probably a 2, 3, 4 win team. And then we get the ultimate story because we can finally have a good Manning at quarterback in a Saints uniform. Because Archie wasn't, he was never a good quarterback, guys. I'm sorry. Like I know he's legendary and all that, and local legend and whatnot, but he was never good. So it would be, the dope story there is like, well, Arch comes in, named after his grandfather, to his grandfather's team. Like, there's a lot of ways you win as a Saints fan. But right now, this minute, looking into week one, I think Kellen clearly made the right decision. And I believe that because every indication we have is that it's because he took the right process. It wasn't, oh, well, we took this guy at 40, so we have to play this guy. And it wasn't, oh, this guy went 0-6 last year, so he sucks. It was, I have a system and I have an offense, and I'm going to play the guys that are most likely to be able to execute that to give us the best chance to win. That's what you're supposed to do as a coach. Good process. Now we'll see what the results are. And the results are up to the players. Coaches put you in a position to succeed, and it's your job to do it. Can't wait for week one. Can't wait to see what the guys do, and can't wait to see what happens with this. Like I said, it's on Spencer. It's a dope story. You earned your opportunity. Now go make something of it. Go prove everybody wrong. And if not, Shuck and his bad facial hair are gonna get their shot too. I shouldn't be talking about anybody's facial hair, but really his stuff, it drives me nuts. Long face, bad beard, spray on, look. Stop, dude. Just shave. Just shave. It's not helping. Grow a real beard or shave. Neither here nor there. hopefully, yeah, hopefully we win week one, and we'll see what happens.